Well, as Jews across the country and around the world prepare to celebrate the seventh night of Hanukkah, a stark reality does loom. You know, the FBI says anti-Semitic attacks make up more than half of all religious bias attacks here in the United States. And a new report from the American Jewish Committee says nearly 1 in 4 Jewish Americans has experienced anti-Semitism just over the past year. Brooke Goldstein joins us now, human rights attorney, founder and director of the Lawfare Project. She is in Israel. Brooke, except for like mass attacks like unfortunate and tragic synagogue shootings, it seems that anti-Semitic attacks, they're kind of like a daily hidden and ignored hate crime, sadly. It's been increasing. What are you seeing and why?
Eric, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this segment because you are exactly right. There is an alarming rise of Jew hatred to the point where it has become systemic, and yet many want to sweep this under the rug. The truth is, that the FBI has recently reported that Jewish people are 3 times more likely to experience a hate crime than any other ethnic group. That's 2.6 times more likely than the black community and 2.2 times more likely than the Muslim community. And over 1/3 of Jewish Americans have personally experienced a hate crime, an anti-Semitic hate crime. These are alarming numbers. And people would like to pretend as though this is a political issue, that this has to do with Israel. It is not. This is a civil rights issue of epic proportions, and anybody who cares about minority rights must care about the issue of Jew hatred rising and anti-Semitic attacks. And I use the word systemic for a reason, because Jew hatred is no longer on the fringes of society. It has become systemic, whether it's politicians like Ilhan Omar, who accuse Jewish Americans of having dual loyalty, or it's leaders of NGOs like Zahra Bilou of the Council on American Islamic Relations, a Muslim Brotherhood front organization that just said that Zionists are the enemy, a.k.a. Jews are the enemy. This is coming from someone in the United States right now in a position of power. This is a systemic issue, and we must pay attention to it.
How come it doesn't get as much attention, do you think? And we condemn all type of attacks and hatred, of course. How come you think it doesn't get as much attention as other cases?
Well, I think there are several reasons, but the number one reason is because politics are being used as an excuse for Jew hatred. There are Jewish students on campus who are being targeted because their ethnic, cultural, and religious identities. And Israel, whatever is happening in Israel, is being used as an excuse. So the schools say, well, this is a political issue, not a civil rights issue. There are Jewish people in the workforce. There are Jews who experience anti-Semitism every day, where a foreign conflict is used as an affirmative excuse to turn around and target a Jewish person. The equivalent would be, for example, if you had a problem with the government of China, turning around to a Chinese American and discriminating against him or her. Or if you have a problem with Iran, discriminating against a Muslim American. Everybody would recognize this as bigotry. But when it happens to the Jewish community, even though we are in the age of minority rights movements, we have still failed to recognize this as a civil rights issue.
We just showed for a second. Let's show that graphic again. I mean, it's pretty shocking. There have been more than 2,100 assaults, vandalism, and harassment of Jewish Americans. This is according to the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL. That's been up 12%. Take a look at the states. Just in this past month, folks, just in 1 month, 16 states, there have been attacks, assaults, all sorts of things. These are the states. I'm going to give you a list. We got a list of them. We don't have it. Alabama, Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Pennsylvania, Texas, Washington State, Virginia, Wisconsin. It's all over the country. How do we stop it, and what should people do?
So we stop at number one by talking about it, which is why I'm so grateful that we're having this segment. But we also have to look at the root causes of why this is happening. If we focus, for example, on campus, There are governments, foreign governments like Qatar, which is the second largest sponsor of terrorism around the world, that are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into our institutions of higher education. They're not only indoctrinating towards Jew hatred, but they're also indoctrinating towards anti-Americanism and anti-democracy. And the saying is, for example, Jews are the canary in the coal miner's tunnel. So it is really important to focus on the rise of Jew hatred, because it is a symptom of further radicalization in the community at large.
And Brooke Goldstein, we're out of time. I thank you, and thank you for the work you're doing. Brooke Goldstein, calling for Jewish civil rights.